Welcome to the Spiritual View. We're going to talk about crystals today.
I'm Christina.
I'm Bisma.
I'm Christine.
And I'm Carlene.
We have a lot to talk about with crystals.
Yeah.
It's one of our favorite things. At least one of my favorite things in this world. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, though, just a little bit of history about crystals, because it was interesting. I didn't really know the history when we decided we were going to talk about this topic today. Just some of the myths and symbolism that comes from the history of crystals. So I just wanted to give you a little tidbits of information. First of all, crystal in Greek means ice, which is interesting because a lot of the quartz, they look like ice. So that was kind of a fun little fact. And then there was a myth that I came across that was really fun. It was an ancient Greek myth, and it was that ancient Greeks believed that quartz crystals found on Earth were pieces of truth that were dropped from Hercules from Mount Olympus. So if you found a quartz crystal, it was kind of like a good omen. You know, it was a positive thing. It was something to be cherished. So that was really interesting.
I think the Lemurians, the ancient civilization, they also had embedded the crystals with information.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of is similar.
Yeah, very similar. It's very deep and rich in culture, crystals. I mean, historical references can, date it back with actual references back to ancient Sumerian cultures, where they used gemstones and crystals primarily for health, for healing and protection. They wore them in jewelry and used them for kind of medication purposes. And then, of course, the Aboriginals and the Native Americans, they have always used them. They kind of refer to them as living entities, that's very interconnected, and it keeps us connected to plants and animals and people. So crystals are fun. There's a lot.
Egyptians used the lapis lazuli, and the Chinese have always revered jade as a very powerful stone. So it's been used.
Yeah, across the world, it's just they're very
Turquoise
much
is really popular in the Southwest, where I'm from.
Yeah, for protection. Tibetan actually also does a lot of turquoise.
So it's fun. There's a lot of history with crystals, and if you ever get the chance or you're curious, you should check it out because there's a lot of really cool facts about it. So, but we also wanted to touch base on the more modern uses and modern information of crystals in this video today. So, Carly?
Oh, okay. I know that children are, kind of naturally drawn to crystals. I don't know if you started, picking up rocks when you were a little kid, but I think that's because you're really sensitive at that age and you kind of tune into the very subtle frequencies that crystals have. And some can be actually very powerful as well.
Crystals and stones, not just crystals.
Oh yeah, just anything.
Rocks.
It can even be a piece of glass, or wood, or fossils. I mean, they all have their uses. Everything has a vibration, and so we're kind of naturally drawn to what we need. So some of the lighter colored ones have a higher vibrational frequency, and some of the darker ones kind of help ground you and have kind of a lower frequency. So there's a whole spectrum, kind of like musical notes. Right, you kind of need the whole keyboard to play music. So
that's a good way to put it. I like that.
I've used them in acupuncture sessions with people, and I think that it really heightens. You can place them on different chakras or have them hold it, especially if somebody's going through something emotional. They're really great at kind of like it is a medicine, helping to take away certain emotions, or not take away, but release, help you get through, calm any kind of grief or heartbreak, anxiety. Also, if you feel like you're not grounded in your body, like some of the fossil stones or the darker like obsidian or black tourmaline really help to put you back into your body and help you kind of face things a little better because you're more present rather than being in your mind kind of space, I think. Some other things that you can do with crystals, you can make tinctures, I think, with water, and you can use that tincture and apply it, mist it around.
You can
also
drink it.
Yeah.
You can drink the water. You can bathe.
You can also use it to clear the radiation from computers or anything electronic. I use a lot of fluorite in my house just to deal with like the Wi-Fi that's kind of everywhere. And also just as a protection between like a computer screen and your eyes. That's another really great use for it because it takes its toll after a while, and these work very subtly, but they're constant. And so another thing that's important to keep in mind is that you need to take care of them. We need to clear them once in a while. And I know that you just recently cleared your crystal.
On accident,
Well, no, not on accident. I put them out last night because we had the full moon at like 7:38 or something this morning. And so I put all my stones out, my jewelry that has stones in it, all my major, the bigger stones that I have, and then all my smaller stones that I use on a regular basis. And I stuck them out there to bathe in the moonlight at the full moon and charge them because it was also super moon, so it was even more powerful. And I didn't realize that it was going to rain last night, so they got extra cleaned last night. But I love to do that every time there's a full moon. I put my crystals out and I charge them, and I also put some water out too.
Yes, that's super important because they do, whenever you do use them in work, they're going to hold on to that energy, and they do need to be cleansed before they can actually do more. And you know, putting them out in a full moon is one way to clean them. Another way is to actually bury them in a dirt. You can keep a separate pot so that you don't lose them out in your yard. Also, putting them near an amethyst stone will cleanse them as well. Amethyst has just the ability to keep cleansing, and selenite as well.
Yeah.
And or salt water, or like putting them, you know, I used to take mine to the beach, to the ocean, and just kind of bathe
Natural
under
water is the
that.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah. A rain.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with some of the porous stones, though. Like some of the stones.
Like selenite, all those types of stones you can't.
with using salt,
And water.
Yeah.
But also saging and using incense, that's another quick and easy way to do it, to burn some sage around them.
And if you're Reiki attuned, you can use your Reiki to pretty much inhale the Reiki energy and use it through your breath to clean a stone. You breathe on it, and you can charge it the same way. You can bring in the Reiki and use some of the symbols, or just use Reiki itself and breathe onto it, or with your intention, or between your two hands, infuse Reiki energy into crystals. A lot of people will sell crystals and stuff like on Etsy that are Reiki charged, and those, it just amplifies the energy that's already there. But you can also set an intention and program your crystal or stone with what you want it to do for you. And there's like books and books, like the Crystal Bible is a really good book that explains like what the properties of each crystal or stone is and what they can do for you and what they generally are good for. And you can choose them that way and put intention into them to amplify the use of that crystal for you. Or you can intuitively just go out and find what is calling to you to pick crystals. I find that I'll have an intention to go to a crystal shop to get certain crystals, and then all of a sudden I'm buying some other ones. I can get lost for hours in the crystal shop. And so there's like this relationship of like finding the stones that want to work with you. Some people will pick up a crystal and they can like they feel the vibration or the energy moving through you, and it's just like you feel so like pulled like a magnet to it. It's like I need this. Like I feel a relationship with this crystal. Some people even go as far as like having a conversation
Oh
with the
yeah,
crystal.
totally.
So the
They have stories
relationships.
to tell.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Some of those ones that haven't been cleared, especially, but you know,
Yeah.
they can tell you a lot of information.
And one other thing this one's going to talk about uses, like all the different ways you can use crystals, but I wanted to talk about crystal grids because it's something that I was trained in Reiki to do, and Bisma intuitively had been doing it. And she didn't realize that there's actually like a science to it, or like a schooling for it. So you can use crystals and choose crystals that have the properties or that you're intuitively drawn to, and make a grid where the north crystal is facing north and south, east and west, and you have a central stone that has the central property that you wish to infuse yourself or someone else with. And you can put the person's name or your own name and the intention of the grid. So you may use this grid, and you can add tons of crystals. You can make a huge grid if you want. Some people use sacred geometry. There's lots of things you can do, but you could just basic like north, east, south, and west, and then a crystal in the center is like super basic. And have an intention. It could be to manifest your dreams. It could be to help with a difficult relationship with a person. It could be to help feel more peace and calm in your life if you're having a lot of stress happening. It could be literally for anything that you can imagine. It's like a prayer, but the crystal grid you program for a certain set of time, and you can use the energies of the moon phases to manifest and or release attachment to whatever it is that you're working with.
It just enhances everything.
So like if you
work
make
with
a
the
crystal
pieces.
grid starting at the full moon as it's waning, that's more for releasing attachment to things. And then if you do a crystal grid at the new moon as it's waxing towards the full moon, that's for the intention of manifesting something that amplifies the power of the crystal grid. It's pretty fun. There's a lot of information that goes into it. But that's just like the basic of crystal grids.
And some people take that crystal grid and like kind of put it in their house. That's like feng shui, where you put certain crystals in certain parts of your house.
Yeah.
So that your whole house is
I
gridded.
have two of them in my bedroom upstairs, and they're framed, and I should have brought them down as an example. But I love that. They're in my bedroom, and I get to look at them every morning.
And the crystal grid with Reiki practitioners. So like if you get a distant healing from a Reiki person, they may just do a session where they're doing Reiki with you distant wise, or they may offer a crystal grid distant healing that lasts for a certain time. That's also something that Reiki practitioners can offer for you.
How do you use it, Bisma?
So some practical uses, I guess, and the way I use them usually is always go by your intuition. So if you feel called to use a stone or any stone that you feel called to, you connect with, you can put them under your pillow. I sleep with like 4 crystals under my pillow, which I pick before I go to sleep. And
Me too.
yeah, for just dreams, relaxation, spiritual uplift, anything like that. I carry them in my purse, like if I'm going to a particular place and I feel like I need, like I want to bring forth that energy or that feeling in my body, I'll take crystals with me. What else? Randomly, I'll just like hold crystals if I feel called to. Protection. I used to always wear amethyst, and this is before, like long ago, when I wasn't too like familiar with crystals, but I naturally always went towards amethyst, and I had jewelry that was amethyst, and it just made me feel really in my body, but then also like opening up spiritually. So lots of jewelry. I love crystal jewelry. With my healing work, I usually have crystals around me when I'm doing my work or when I'm meditating.
So you can use them in your space. I think, like, I had a office situation once where, you know, there's some people that would always come and attack us, you know, verbally. So we kind of just like put some crystals on our desk, and it really took care of the situation. So it's a really nice, subtle way of changing and directing energy in spaces. You know, they're a nice tool to use. Another thing that I love to do with crystals is running the energy through your body. If you take a dark colored crystal, let's say like a black tourmaline or obsidian, and you place it in your right hand, and you take another, like a quartz crystal or something very high vibrational, like fluorite, amethyst, citrine, any of those clear crystals, put it in your left hand. And what you imagine is that the energy is coming in through your left hand and traveling up through and then coming out of your right hand. And you imagine this circle of energy, and you can just close your eyes and just kind of like feel that. It really kind of like moves energy through your hands. And what's really interesting is after you do that for a couple of minutes, try switching it and see if that feels right. It feels very different when you switch, because you the darker ones are the ones that kind of like
They pull energy.
yeah.
They're
So
like
it's a really good one to
absorbers.
like pull the negativity out from you, and this one kind of brings in the good energy into your body. So switching it just doesn't feel right. So that's a really cool exercise that somebody showed me once, and I found that to be very true.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so like, just we're gonna talk about like quickly like our own personal use like story.
Yeah.
So something I want to explain. One way I use it in my life, and I use it for my husband too, is I have a chakra set. So they're double terminated crystals. That means that they are straight and then they're pointy on both ends.
It's hard.
And with that, the point, yeah, they look like that.
hard.
And the point of that is that it can transmute energy. It brings in energy and releases energy because it has double pointed. So it's the associated colors of the chakras. I'm not going to try to name all of them, but you can easily find a chakra set anywhere, or just feel out stones that represent the different colors or energies of your chakras. But basically you could just lay there and lay the chakra for your crown, your brow, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your sacral, and your root chakra, and lay there for 20 minutes, and the crystals will do the work. It'll clear and energize and align all your chakras, just like Reiki will do, but with just crystals. So people can do this for self-healing at home. And what's really cool is you can use a pendulum, which is like any kind of object on the end of a string or chain, which they often have crystals on them, and test your chakras to see what they're like before, and you can lay there for 20 minutes and test them after and see how it changes. It's just kind of fun to do. But I feel intuitively that it actually really does a lot of work just passively. The crystals will just sit there. And also, we didn't talk about the different ways of cleansing crystals. We talked about the rain, we talked about using Reiki. Oh, we did talk about it. We talked about Earth. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking we need to cover that.
Did we say Did we say we could sage?
Yeah, and you can use your intuition to feel like, does this crystal feel like it needs to be cleaned?
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll just feel icky, especially if it's a darker stone. It can really have a lot of negative energy in it. I think those are the ones you should clean more frequently. Yeah.
Well, I have a story about that. When I started wearing my amethyst, I'd wear it all the time, and this is before I knew you had to cleanse them. And I was wearing it for such a long time, and I started feeling like I didn't want to wear it anymore. And it didn't, like, intuitively, it just didn't feel like I wanted it on my skin. So I'd take it off and I'd feel better, and then I'd put it back on because I thought that, oh, it's my amethyst, I want to wear it. It just didn't feel right. And then I learned that you have to clear your crystals. So once I cleared it, it felt so much better. I felt more connected, and I wanted to wear my necklace again. So it is really important to clear crystals and that energy, because they do hold onto it. And
Do you guys program your crystals?
Yep, I program them. It's funny because I was going to share a story about my son, because you had brought up how children are naturally just crystal healers and just they're intuitive. And my son was having some experiences in his house, and he's just very sensitive, and was having a hard time in his room. And so he knows about all mommy's magic rocks, and so we went to the store one day and we got him I let him pick out a couple of his magic rocks, and he was naturally drawn to rose quartz and this onyx skull. And so he has those sitting above his bed. And but when we came home, I programmed him with it. I programmed it with him, and it's very important. But I mean, it's such a huge difference. He wouldn't sleep in his room, and then after we did that, he slept in his room, no problems, no fight, no questions asked. Like
It's also
there's no
probably also
hesitation.
empowering for him to
It's
know
super empowering.
that there's a tool to help him.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful thing, and it's so simple and magical, and it's really great to use with children. So I really want to put that out there and emphasize that because it's so helpful and it's so natural and it's just nice. It's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Yeah, and kids are so open, so they're so much more allowing to like allow the energy or the aspects of the crystals.
They're good at
towards them.
receiving.
They're good at receiving.
Yeah, they don't have blocks yet.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I've also had experiences where my husband had surgery and my son had surgery pretty close together in time. And I had this little opal angel that I carried around in my pocket. I think I might have told you guys the story. I can't remember. But I was sitting there in the waiting room, holding on to the crystal and just, trying to relax and trying not to be anxious about the situation. And then all of a sudden, conversation with the doctor, everything transitioned and changed, and I can't find the crystal anymore. And I totally lost the crystal, and I have no idea where it went. And that can happen a lot with your crystals. They might break or disappear, or something happens to them. You don't know where they went. And that crystal did its purpose. It's no longer needed anymore, and it's going to find a new home with somebody else that needs it. So if you ever lose your crystal or it gets broken, just know that that's okay and does happen, and it was happening for a reason. So
And sometimes they'll just show up right when you need them. So.
Exactly, it's bizarre. They're literally living entities. Like I truly believe with the Aboriginals and the Native Americans' perspective on that, because there's just so much life in crystals. So yeah.
Yeah, so a disclaimer we have to say is that the use of crystals is not in any way to replace medical intervention.
Right.
These are just fun tools to use for yourself to whatever degree and extent that's okay for yourself, but it is not meant to replace medical care. We just have to say
It's
that.
a nice addition to,
Yeah.
to healing, but definitely don't want to replace it.
But yeah, it could definitely accentuate healing. So if you are struggling with something, look up, crystal 4, whatever your ailment is, and check it out.
See what it feels like for you.
The colors and the different types. There's just so much information about crystals, and they're just good for so many different things. And so, like you said earlier, the Crystal Bible, that's really nice. You just fold to the getting chills.
Yeah, I know, mine too.
Just fold to the page of the crystal that you're looking for, and it has an extensive explanation of usages, and so it's really fun. So we encourage you to get some crystals. You'll be hooked, I promise.
It's fun.
Perfect gift.
Yeah, Christmas is coming. It's a good gift for Christmas. Definitely, good one. Yep.
All right. Yeah, I want crystals. If you know me, I want crystals. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next
you.
time.
Bye.